Hello, dear DSC candidates. Welcome back to my Grammar for Success channel. I am Koresh Babu, a retired lecturer in English from Hyderabad. In this video, I am once again bringing to your mind the key revision points about where the mind is without fear and the cloud. I therefore request all of you to pay a very good attention to this video till the end without skipping it in the middle. I also request all of you to consider subscribing to my channel and also sharing this video with all your friends who are also going to take the DSC examination along with you. Thank you so much. Now let's get into the video. Where the mind is without fear. And at the outset, I would like to present before you the key revision points about the poet Rabindranath Tagore. Okay, and here you pay attention about the poet Rabindranath Tagore. Some key points I am going to give you here. Please keep all of them in your mind. And here you pay attention. Tagore was the first Asian, okay, to win the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1913. So this information is very, very important. And here this Tagore was not only the first Indian but also the first Asian to win the Nobel Prize, to receive the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913. So this is a very important point. You go to the next point. He wrote India's national anthem. Anthem means sacred song, song of praise, whatever you can call it. Okay, and he wrote India's national anthem, Jatiya Geetamu. That means, praising this country. Some song is written, so that song is called national anthem, and you know very well that is nothing but Jana Gana Mana. Okay, so he was the composer of the national anthem, Jana Gana Mana. Okay, now you go to the next important point. He was a spiritual nationalist who believed in education and enlightenment. So this is a very important point about Rabindranath Tagore. He was a spiritual. Spiritual means what? Divine or sacred or holy, whatever you can say. Nationalist means a lover or a supporter of one's own country or one's own people. Tana deshanni, tana prajalanu preminchevadu, support chesevadini, he is called a nationalist. And here he was a spiritual nationalist. Spiritual nationalist means he was a sacred and wholehearted lover and supporter of his own country or of his own people. That's why he was a spiritual nationalist who believed in education. So he had a strong faith in education and he had a strong faith in enlightenment. Enlightenment means what? Insight. Okay, enlightenment means insight or knowledge. So he believes in education and also in knowledge. In other words, you can say. So he was a spiritual nationalist who believed in education and knowledge. Okay, that is another important point about Rabindranath Tagore. And you go to the next important point. He composed this poem as part of Gitanjali. So this where the mind is without fear is a part and parcel of this Gitanjali, which was what? A collection of devotional poems. Devotional means very divine poems, sacred poems. And this where the mind is without fear is a part and parcel of this Gitanjali. That means, in other words, this poem has been taken from this Gitanjali. This Gitanjali is nothing but a collection of devotional poems. So this point is also clear. And one more point I would like to tell you about Rabindranath Tagore. Keep that in your mind. He advocated. He advocated means he supported or he encouraged what? Freedom of thought. So freedom of thought is very important. You must be able to think freely, because in some countries, people are not allowed to think freely. There is some autocracy, there is some authoritarianism, there is some despotism. So in such countries, what happens? People don't have freedom of thought. But here this Tagore supports the idea of freedom of thought and unity and reason. So that means, he wanted the people of this country to have freedom of thought, free thinking and unity. Okay, unity you know very well. And reason, rational. That means, rational thinking. Not believing in anything without thinking about its rationality. In this way, he advocated freedom of thought. Okay, unity and reason. So these are the very important points about Rabindranath Tagore. Now you move on to learn a few very important things about this poem itself. Okay, summary. Now I am going to give you the summary of this poem, Where the Mind is Without Fear, in a nutshell. Here you pay attention. The poem, what is the poem? Where the Mind is Without Fear is what? A prayer. It is a prayer to God. For what? For India's freedom. For India's freedom. Freedom from what? Not just from colonial rule, means not just from foreign rule, but from ignorance, number one, narrow-mindedness, number two, and fear, number three. So this poet Tagore wants the people to have freedom, not just from colonial rule, but from ignorance, narrow-mindedness. Narrow-mindedness means small-mindedness, and fear. That means, he wants the people to have freedom from these three important things: from ignorance, from narrow-mindedness, and from fear. So from these things, he wants the people to have freedom, not just from this foreign rule, colonial rule, and all that. So this is the first very important point. You go move on to the next one. Tagore dreams of a nation. Now this Tagore wants a nation. What kind of nation? Where people hold their heads with dignity and courage. So where the people should hold their heads with dignity and courage. Where do the people hold down their heads? Wherever the people are guilty, wherever the people are not free from guilt, నేరము చేసిన దగ్గర మాత్రమే ప్రజలు తల వంచుకొని తల దించుకొని ఉంటారు. బట్ హియర్ హీ ఈస్ ఆస్కింగ్ ద పీపుల్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ కంట్రీ టు హోల్డ్ దేర్ హెడ్స్ హై విత్ డిగ్నిటీ అండ్ కరేజ్. ధైర్యముతో గౌరవముతో తలెత్తుకొని జీవించాలి అని చెబుతూ ఉన్నాడు. సో హియర్ అండ్ స్పీక్ ట్రూత్ ఫ్రీలీ. దిస్ ద ఫస్ట్ థింగ్. దిస్ ద సెకండ్ థింగ్. హీ వాంట్స్ ద పీపుల్ టు స్పీక్ ద ట్రూత్ freely. The people should not be scared of speaking the truth. Okay, they should speak the truth freely, frankly, and fearlessly. And next, are guided by reason. And they should always be guided by reason. Reason means, in other words, rational. Rational means తార్కిక జ్ఞానము. తార్కిక జ్ఞానముతో మాత్రమే they should move forward, not with superstitions. Superstitions means wrong beliefs or meaningless beliefs are called superstitions. Mooda nammakalu, you know that very well. That means, this Tagore dreams of that country or that nation where people hold their heads high with dignity and courage. One point. Where people speak the truth freely. Okay, where people are guided by reason and not by superstition. So this is a beautiful point. Keep it in your mind. And you move on to the next point. He envisions. He envisions means he foresees. He imagines, in other words, a land. He envisions a land that is united. That means he envisions about this country which is united, where knowledge flows freely. So he wants that country where that knowledge flows freely. That means knowledge is available everywhere, because people are supposed to have knowledge from books, from nature, from everything. Because if they don't have knowledge, they become ignorant. They become dead to the country, dead to the world. So that's why people should become enlightened. They should fill their hearts with knowledge, and that is why he wants this India to be a land united, where knowledge flows freely and people work with tireless striving toward perfection. So here, where people work how? Tirelessly. Okay, striving means working hard. Tireless means tirelessly toward perfection. Toward perfection means excellence, utkrushtata, the best of the best. So he wants this India to be that land where knowledge flows freely and where people work hard to achieve perfection or to achieve excellence. So these two things are there. ఇగో ఎక్కడైతే నాలెడ్జ్ మరి స్వేచ్ఛగా అందరికి అందుబాటులో ఉంటుందో, ఎక్కడైతే ప్రజలు ఎక్సలెన్స్ కోసం, ఉత్కృష్టత కోసము మరి అవిరలం కృషి చేస్తుంటారు. అలాంటి దేశంగా తన దేశం మారాలని అతడు హీఈస్ ఎన్విజనింగ్, he is predicting, he is foreseeing, that is there. And you move on to the last point of the summary. The poem ends with a plea. This poem ends with a plea. Plea means a request. Okay, plea means what? An appeal, a request to whom? To God. He is requesting God. Why? To awaken. To awaken means to wake up. Whom? His country. His country means, in other words, his people. He wants God to wake up his countrymen into such a heaven of freedom. He wants the people of this country to live in what? Heaven of freedom. Okay, heaven which is filled with freedom. స్వేచ్ఛతో నిండినటువంటి ఆ స్వర్గధామములోకి తన ప్రజలను నడిపించు అని చెప్పి he is requesting God. So here, this is the brief summary of this poem, where the mind is without fear. Okay, now let us move on to learn about the key revision points about this poem. Key points to remember. So now I am going to give you the key points about this poem and the poet. Please keep all of them in your mind, and here you pay attention. A visionary prayer. So this where the mind is without fear is a visionary prayer. Visionary means what? Yes, visionary means imaginary. Or visionary means one who dreams is called a visionary. ఎవరైతే కలగంటాడో నా దేశం ఇలా ఉండాలి, అలా ఉండాలని కలగంటాడు, అలా కలగలుగానే వాడిని విజనరీ అంటారు. So here it's a visionary prayer means, in other words, a prayer. Okay, it's a prayer by a dreamer, and he is praying for what? For a free India. This Tagore was praying for what? A free India. India is supposed to be free from the oppressive rule of the Britishers, from the foreign rule, the colonial rule. You know that very well. And he also wants this India to be enlightened. He also wants enlightened India. Enlightened India means what? Freed from ignorance. Okay, freed from ignorance. Ignorance means agnanamu, and also what? Misinformation. అంటే చెడు సమాచారము. సో he wanted the people of this country to be freed from ignorance and misinformation. So in this way, being freed from ignorance and misinformation itself is called enlightened. ఇలా అజ్ఞానము నుంచి, మిస్ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ నుంచి విముక్తి కావడం అనేది, that is called enlightened. So therefore, in this poem, this Tagore was praying for what? Free India and enlightened India. స్వేచ్ఛాయుతమైనటువంటి భారతదేశం కోసం, అజ్ఞానాంధకారం నుంచి బయటపడినటువంటి దేశంగా తన దేశం మారాలని అతడు కోరుకుంటున్నాడు. దట్ ఈస్ ద పాయింట్. నౌ యు నో వెరీ వెల్. అండ్ హియర్ ద నెక్స్ట్ పాయింట్ ఇస్ రిటన్ ఇన్ ఫ్రీ వర్స్. ఓకే, దిస్ ఇస్ ఎ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్ పాయింట్. It is written in free verse without a fixed rhyme scheme. No rhyme scheme at all, no meter at all. Okay, it is written in free verse. Please keep this point in your mind. It's a very, very, very important point from your examination point of view, and that point you know very well. And encourages fearlessness, knowledge, truth, and unity. So this is also very simple. He is encouraging all the Indians, all the people of this country to have fearlessness, nirbhayatvamu, and knowledge, జ్ఞానము, truth, satyamu, unity, ఐకమత్యము. He wanted all the people of this country to have all of them, right? And you go to the next point. Rejects narrow divisions. That is very important. This is an important point. He rejects, he puts aside what? Narrow means narrow-minded, small-minded, prejudiced, in other words, biased, in other words. Okay, narrow-minded divisions. Divisions means partitions. Today, what is happening in our country? People are getting divided into religions, into castes, into regions. ఈనాడు ప్రజలు కులాలుగా, మతాలుగా, ప్రాంతాలుగా విడిపోవడం లేదా? దిస్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ నారో డివిజన్స్. ఇగో తెలంగాణ మాది, ఆంధ్ర మీది. సో నారో డివిజన్స్. People nowadays don't have the feeling of we are all one. we are Indians. That kind of feeling is no more in the minds of the people. People are getting divided into caste, into religion and into region. కులాలుగా, మతాలుగా, ప్రాంతాలుగా ప్రజలు విభజించబడము అతడు నిర్ద్వందంగా త్రోసివేస్తూ ఉన్నాడు. ఈజ్ రిజెక్టింగ్ దట్ ఐడియా. అండ్ యూ గో టు ద నెక్స్ట్ వన్, ఎయిమ్స్ టు అవేకెన్. He is trying to waken, or he is trying to wake up his country to dignity and rational thought. He wants all the people of this country to rise up to dignity. That means, he wants all the people of this country to behave with dignity, to move with dignity, to live with dignity, and also with rational thought. Rational thought means logical thinking must be there. ఎవడే చెప్తే అది వెంటనే నమ్మకుండా, you must think logically. You must think, about that something rationally. తార్కికంగా ఆలోచించి తదనంతరమే దాని గురించి నమ్మాలి. So the people of this country are expected to have dignity and also rational thought. So these are all the very important points to remember from this beautiful poem, Where the Mind is Without Fear. And a few more points are also there about this poem. Now let us learn about them also. Themes are also very important from your examination point of view. And here you pay attention. Freedom is the main theme. Freedom of what? Mental theme, social theme, spiritual theme. So there are three kinds of themes are there in this thing: intellectual freedom, social freedom, spiritual freedom. ఆధ్యాత్మికమైన స్వేచ్ఛ, సాంఘిక స్వేచ్ఛ, మరి మానసికమైనటువంటి స్వేచ్ఛ. So these three kinds of freedoms are mentioned in this, and it is one of the themes. Nationalism and patriotism. This is also one of the themes of this poem. Nationalism means patriotism. Patriotism means nationalism. Both convey almost the same meaning. దేశభక్తిని నేషనలిజం అంటారు, patriotism. ఓకే, దేశాన్ని గౌరవించడం దేశభక్తి. So these two are you can say almost the same, right? And this is one of the themes of this poem. And enlightenment through knowledge and truth. People getting enlightenment through knowledge and truth. సత్యము, జ్ఞానము ద్వారా ప్రజలు జ్ఞానోదయమును పొందుట. That is also one of the themes of this poem. And you go to the next one, unity and rational thinking. And this is also one of the themes of this poem, Where the Mind is Without Fear. So there are four themes mentioned here: freedom, mental freedom, social freedom, spiritual freedom. On the whole, freedom is the main theme of this poem. Nationalism and patriotism is also the theme of the poem. And enlightenment through knowledge and truth is also the theme of the poem. And unity and rational thinking logical thinking, that is also the theme of this poem. So there are four kinds of themes are mentioned here. So any one of them is correct if at all it is given in the examination. And now you move on to the next important point, tone. What is the tone of this poem? Theme is very important. Tone is very important. What is the tone of this poem? Hopeful. This Tagore is expecting something good to happen to the people of this country. So in that way he is hopeful, and he is also prayerful. He is praying to God to better this country, to make the people enlightened. And here idealistic. He wants this country to be idealistic. That means he wants all the people to have very good ideals. And next he wants the people to be solemn in their efforts. Solemn means serious. This is the tone of the poem. So the tone of the poem is hopeful, the tone of the poem is prayerful, idealistic and solemn. So this is the tone. And you go to the next rhyme scheme is there. What the rhyme scheme used in this poem means, it is again mentioned here, written in free verse. Very, very important from your examination point of view. This is written in free verse without a fixed rhyme scheme. No fixed rhyme scheme at all. Only free verse. This entire poem has been written in free verse. Free verse means no meter is observed, no rhyme scheme, nothing. And blank verse is there. That is a metered lines. And free verse and blank verse, you know the difference between both of them. And here, this is very briefly all about the poem, Where the Mind is Without Fear. Now, let's move on to learn about the next poem, The Cloud. So, second poem here I have taken up is The Cloud. Some revision points I would like to present before you. Please keep all of them in your mind. And here, first of all, I would like to talk to you about the poet Percy Bysshe Shelley, P.B. Shelley, right? P.B. Shelley was one of the leading English romantic poets. Very brief point I am giving you here. One of the leading English romantic poets means this P.B. Shelley was one of the leading means we celebrated, okay, one of the celebrated English romantic poets. That is the first point. And next, known for his lyrical beauty and philosophical depth. So in his poetry, you can find lyrical beauty. You take up the poetry of the Shelley, you can find a lot of lyrical beauty, lyrical charm you can find in that. And you can also find some philosophical depth. That means, some deep knowledge you can find in that, some deep meaning you can find in that. So in that way, you can find some philosophical depth and lyrical beauty. So this is also one of the key points of this P.B. Shelley. And another important point about him is what? He believed in nature's power and the imagination. So he believed in two things. What? In the power of this nature and in the power of this imagination. Because this nature's power is tremendous, and the power of this imagination is also tremendous. So that's why he believed in nature's power and imagination. Nature's power, prakriti yokka shakti, dani mundu manishi nilvajaladu, right? And imagination, ఊహ యొక్క శక్తి, that is also tremendous and amazing. You cannot stand before that. Okay, so he believes in these two things. That is one point. And next, friend of Lord Byron. So this P.B. Shelley was a close friend of Lord Byron, and he married to Mary Shelley. So he married some lady, and her name is Mary Shelley. And you go to the next point. Died young. He died very young. That means at a very young age he died, but he left a lasting legacy in English poetry. He wrote so many poems. He left a lot of wonderful poetry behind him. Okay, and in that way he created some wonderful history in the English literature or English poetry. So this is all about this P.B. Shelley. And now let's move on to learn about the poem itself. Now, I would like to give you the summary of this poem, The Cloud. If you want the detailed summary of the poem, you please watch my original video I have made on the poem The Cloud. Okay, and it's a wonderful video, right? And summary, I'm going to give you the summary of this poem in a nutshell. Let's now pay attention to this. In this poem, that means in this poem The Cloud is personified. Personified means given the human shape or human form. Manava rupam ivvabadindi ee yokka cloud ki. That is personified, and it speaks about its ever changing role in nature. The poet speaks about its ever changing role in nature. In nature, this cloud will have got its own ever changing role, a wonderful role. If that cloud is not there, there is no water in the lakes, there is no water in the rivers, there is no water for the plants, trees, whatnot. There is no life at all on the face of the earth. And that's why now the cloud is very powerful. It plays ever changing roles, many roles. Ever changing means many roles it plays in nature. Okay, all those roles are mentioned in that poem. Please, you watch the original video and you can understand the ever-changing role of this cloud, right? And you move on to the next one. It brings rain to flowers. That means, this cloud brings rain to flowers. Flowers means plants, trees and all that. And that is the first job it does. And next, it gives shade to the earth. When there are clouds in the sky, what happens? The whole earth will have got shade from the sunlight. The sunlight is prevented. ఆకాశంలోని మేఘాలు ఉన్నప్పుడు ఆటోమేటిక్గా సూర్యుని కిరణాలు భూమిని చేరవు కాబట్టి everything will be cloudy and everything will be shady on the earth. Isn't it? So it gives shade to the earth. Second thing, and announces the storm with thunder and lightning. See, this is another role. This is one role. This is one role. This is one role. It announces the storm. It tells you about the storm with the help of the thunder and the lightning. ఉరుములు మెరుపులతో స్టామ్ యొక్క రాకడ గురించి మానవులకు తెలియచేస్తూ ఉంటుంది. భూమికి నీడనిస్తూ ఉంటుంది, మొక్కలకు నీళ్ళనిస్తూ ఉంటుంది. So all kinds of jobs this cloud will do in that poem, right? And it will do all those things. And next, the cloud explains how it takes different forms. And the cloud itself tells you how it takes different forms. What kind of forms does it take? Floating over mountains. It floats over the mountains, you know very well. Playing with the moon, it plays with the moon in the sky. Because it will play the hide and seek with the moon. ఆకాశంలో చంద్రునితో దాగుడు మూతలు ఆడుతూ ఉంటుంది. చంద్రునికి అడ్డంగా మేఘం వచ్చింది అనుకోండి, కనిపించడు, హైడ్. మేఘం పక్క సరిపోతే చంద్రుడు కనిపిస్తాడు, సీక్, హైడ్ అండ్ సీక్. దట్ మీన్స్ ద క్లౌడ్ విల్ బి ప్లేయింగ్ ద హైడ్ అండ్ సీక్ విత్ ద మూన్ ఇన్ ద స్కై. సో ఇట్ ప్లేయింగ్ విత్ ద మూన్ అండ్ నరిషింగ్ లైఫ్ మీన్స్ గివింగ్ లైఫ్ టు ద earth. On the earth you can find all kinds of creatures, okay, all kinds of plants, trees, animals. For all of them, water is very essential, and therefore this cloud gives them water, and that's why it is nourishing life. The last point about this summary is, despite seeming to vanish, this cloud appears in the sky to be vanishing, to be disappearing, but it doesn't disappear, it doesn't vanish, because it is immortal. It has no death at all. దానికి మరణం లేదు అనేది తెలియజేస్తుంటుంది. ఆకాశంలో అది నీకు అది కనిపించకుండా పోయినట్టు అనిపిస్తుంది, డిసపియర్ అయినట్టు అనిపిస్తుంది, కానీ దానికి మరణము లేదు. వాట్ హ్యాపెన్? సేయింగ్ ఇట్ నెవర్ డైస్. The cloud never dies in the sky and keeps returning in the natural cycle. So what happens now? That cloud will come down to the earth in the form of rain, and again from this rain water, with the help of this sunlight, this water again goes up into the sky in the form of vapor, in the form of clouds. క్లౌడ్స్ ఏం చేస్తాయి? నీరులాగా కురుస్తాయి. కురిసిన నీళ్ళు మళ్ళీ సూర్యరశ్మికి ఏమవుతుంది? ఆవిరై మీదికి వెళ్ళి మేఘాలుగా రూపొందుతాయి, మళ్ళీ కురుస్తాయి, మళ్ళీ పోతాయి, మళ్ళీ కురుస్తాయి. This cycle. So this is all about the poem, and in my original video you can learn all those things. Okay, very in detail I have explained the meaning of this cloud. Okay, right. And one more point here is what Shelley celebrates the eternal beauty and renewal of nature. And in this poem, Shelley celebrates what? The eternal beauty of nature. Nature has got a stunning beauty. That's why people go on an excursion to some places. There you can find all kinds of trees with colorful flowers and all that, because nature is very beautiful. Nature is tremendously beautiful. Okay, so it has got eternal beauty. She celebrates the eternal beauty and renewal of nature in this poem. And nature will be renewed. Nature creates, nature destroys, nature regenerates. పుడుతుంది, కొంతకాలం ఉంటుంది, తర్వాత నశిస్తుంది, మళ్ళీ పుడుతుంది, మళ్ళీ కొంతకాలం ఉంటుంది, మళ్ళీ నశిస్తుంది. సో ఇట్స్ అ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ సైకిల్. దిస్ కాల్డ్ రెన్యువల్ ఆఫ్ నేచర్. నేచర్ విల్ బి రిన్యూడ్. పాతది గతించి మళ్ళీ కొత్తది వస్తుంది, కొత్తది గతించి పాతది వస్తుంది, అట్లా సంథింగ్ లైక్ దట్. It will be renewed. So here this Shelley celebrates the eternal beauty of nature. ప్రకృతికి ఉన్నటువంటి మరి చెప్పనలవి కానటువంటి రమణీయతను కూడా ఆస్వాదిస్తూ ఉన్నారు. దాని యొక్క రెన్యువల్ ఆఫ్ నేచర్, ఆ నేచర్కు ఉన్నటువంటి మరి ఆ సైకిల్, పుట్టడం గిట్టడం ఏదైతుందో, దిట్స్ అ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ సైకిల్. దాన్ని కూడా అతడు సెలబ్రేట్ చేస్తున్నాడు. సో దీస్ ఆర్ ఆల్ ద ఇంపార్టెంట్ పాయింట్స్ అబౌట్ దిస్ పోయిమ్. అండ్ నౌ లెట్స్ మూవ్ ఆన్ టు లెర్న్ అబౌట్ ద కీ పాయింట్స్ టు రిమెంబర్. Key points to remember. What are the key points to remember? The cloud is personified. This point you remember. And speaks in first person. So the cloud is personified. It is given the human form. And in this poem, the cloud itself speaks to you. Cloud ku manava రూపం ఇవ్వబడింది. ఈ పోయంలో క్లౌడే మనతో మాట్లాడుతూ ఉంది. The poem is not speaking with us, but the cloud itself is speaking with us. That is the point. And here explores nature's cycle. And in this poem, the poet explores what? Nature's cycle. What is the nature's cycle? Creation. Okay, then destruction, then renewal, then creation, then destruction, renewal, creation. This is a kind of cycle. పుట్టడము, నాశనం అవ్వడం, మళ్ళీ తిరిగి జన్మించడం, పుట్టడం, తిరిగి. సో సంథింగ్ లైక్ క్రియేట్, డెస్ట్రాయ్, రెన్యువల్, క్రియేట్, డెస్ట్రాయ్, రెన్యువల్. ఇట్స్ అ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ సైకిల్. In this poem, the poet explores nature's cycle, creation, destruction and renewal. And you go to the next one, rich in imagery and movement. So you can find in this poem beautiful imagery. I think I have explained the poem in detail, reading line by line, word by word, and I have explained the entire poem. Okay, and here you can find rich imagery, and you can also find some rich movement. beautiful movement, musical movement. The cloud will be moving in the sky. And so you can find imagery and movement reflecting the cloud's journey. So you can find the cloud's journey in the sky. The cloud journeys from the earth to the sky, and there in the sky it will be moving all over the world, over the mountains, over the seas, over the oceans, over the trees, over the forests, whatnot. It will be making its journey. మేఘం అంతటా అన్నిటి మీద కంచి ప్రయాణం చేస్తూ ఉంటుంది, కొండల మీద, కోనల మీద, అడవుల మీద, సముద్రాల మీద, whatnot. So it will be journey. So it is there reflecting the clouds journey. Right, and here you pay attention. Uses irregular rhyme. This is very important. In this poem, irregular rhyme scheme is used, not regular rhyme scheme. Okay, and vivid metaphors. Clear metaphors are used and irregular rhyme scheme. Please keep these 2 points in your mind, right? And you move on to the next one. Emphasizes nature's power. So in this poem, the poet emphasizes or stresses nature's power and eternal presence. Okay, nature is very powerful. You cannot withstand the nature's power. You cannot oppose nature's power. భయంకరమైన తుఫాన్ వస్తుంది, దాన్ని అడ్డుకోగలుగుతామా? భయంకరమైన అర్త్క్వేక్ వచ్చింది, కెన్ యూ స్టాప్ ఇట్? యూ కెనాట్. అసలు వస్తున్న విషయం కూడా మెల్లగా ఈ మధ్యలో తెలుసుకుంటారు, కానీ అసలు వచ్చేదా కూడా తెలియదు. భయంకరమైనటువంటి అర్త్క్వేక్ వస్తే కెన్ యూ స్టాప్ ఇట్? కెన్ యూ ప్రివెంట్ ఇట్? సునామీ వస్తుంది, కెన్ యూ స్టాప్ ఇట్? యూ కెన్ నాట్, బికాస్ నేచర్ ఈజ్ పవర్ఫుల్. So here this emphasizes nature's power. Okay, nature is powerful, it is established, right? And eternal presence. Eternal presence means you can find the presence of the power of this nature all over the world. ఈ ప్రకృతి యొక్క శక్తి అనేది ప్రపంచమంతా మనకి ఎక్కడ పోయినా కనిపిస్తుంది, కొండల్లో, కోనల్లో, లోయల్లో, అడవుల్లో. వీఆర్ నాట్ ఎవ్రీవేర్ యూ కెన్ ఫైండ్ ద పవర్ ఆఫ్ దట్ నేచర్, రైట్? And in this way, these are the very important points to remember. Please keep them in your mind. And a few more points are also there. Please let us keep them also in our mind. Okay. Themes, very important. What are the themes that you can come across in this poem? Means here, nature's power and beauty. Nature is powerful, nature is beautiful. Nature is powerful, nature is beautiful. That theme you can find here. And here, the cycle of life and regeneration. So you can find the cycle of life and regeneration. So it creates, okay, it destroys, it renews, it creates, it destroys, renews. So it's a kind of cycle you can find in that. That is the theme of this poem. Personification of natural elements, that can also be the theme of this poem. So the themes can be any one of them. One of them can be the themes. This can be the theme, this can be the theme, this can be the theme. So in the examination, they can give any one of them, okay? But you should not get confused. That is what I would like to tell you. And here, tone. What is the tone of this poem? Majestic. Because the cloud is majestic. Majestic. The style of the poem, the tone of the poem is majestic. Gambhiramaina. And here, playful. The cloud will sometimes become playful. Playful means mischievous. The tone of the poem is majestic, sometimes playful, sometimes awe-inspiring, terrifying, scaring, and vivid. Vivid means very clear, lucid. Vishadamaina. So one of them can be the tone. In the tomorrow's examination, they might ask, what's the tone of the poem? It can be majestic, it can be playful, mischievous, it can be awe-inspiring, scaring or terrifying, and vivid, clear, and all that. Okay. And here the rhyme scheme. What is the rhyme scheme of the poem? So that is also one of the things. Irregular rhyme, often with a loose ABCB or ABAB pattern in many stanzas. You can find so irregular rhyme, often with loose ABCB, this rhyme scheme, or sometimes ABAB rhyme scheme. Okay, in many stanzas, varied but musical. So not you can say strictly followed in all the stanzas, but sometimes this pattern, sometimes this pattern. So therefore it's irregular. Throughout the poem, the poet has not followed the strict or the regular rhyme scheme. So that's why irregular rhyme scheme is followed in this. So these are all the very important points about this poem, The Cloud. And now, basing on these 2 poems, I would like to give you some questions. You have to answer all of them on your own, because they are all selected from your forthcoming examination point of view. Please, they are all very simple, very easy. They are all framed exclusively for you. Please try to answer all of them. Okay. Now let us move on to solve the exercise. Multiple choice questions. Okay. Who is the poet of Where the Mind is Without Fear? Okay. William Wordsworth, Sarojini Naidu, Rabindranath Tagore, P.B. Shelley. We move on to the next question. Who wrote the poem The Cloud? John Keats, P.B. Shelley, William Blake, Robert Frost. You move on to other questions. Third question. In Where the Mind is Without Fear, what does the poet desire for his country? Economic prosperity, a nation guided by fear and superstition, a land of freedom and truth, power and domination over other countries. Fourth question. Which natural elements does the cloud claim to control in the cloud? Volcanoes and earthquakes, rivers and lakes, rain, hail and lightning, fire and smoke. Fifth question. In Where the Mind is Without Fear, what is meant by narrow domestic walls? Physical walls of homes, differences based on caste, creed and religion, thick city boundaries, political boundaries. The sixth question is like this. How does the cloud describe its own life cycle in Shelley's poem? As a journey from earth to sky and back, as a constant snowfall, as a still object in the sky, as a thunderstorm that never ends. Seventh question. What is the central theme of Where the Mind is Without Fear? Superstition, political struggle, intellectual and spiritual freedom, natural beauty. Eighth question. Which of the following best expresses a theme of the cloud? See, these are all the questions that are framed from your examination point of view. That's why, see, direct question. What is the central theme of the poem? Okay. Here you see, which of the following best expresses the theme of the cloud? See, look at the style of the questioning. Okay, and here let us look at the options of this question. The rigidity of science, the beauty and power of nature, the sadness of isolation, the importance of fame. Okay, so very interesting. And now you move on to other questions. Ninth question. Where the Mind is Without Fear primarily envisions means predicts or foresees what? A peaceful home, a utopian India free from oppression and ignorance, a journey to space, a historical narrative of independence. 10th question. What theme is dominant in Shelley's The Cloud? Destruction, political power, the cycle and renewal in nature, revenge. 11th question. What tone does Tagore adopt in Where the Mind is Without Fear? Please look at the question and these are the options. Angry and resentful, hopeful and prayerful, comedic and sarcastic, melancholic and fearful. 12th question. The tone of the cloud can best be described as, see, look at the questions, the style of questioning. Here some different question style is given. So the question is just on tone only, but the question style is different. So this is one style of questioning, this is another style of question. So the tone of the cloud can best be described as aggressive and violent, joyful and powerful, calm and reflective, sad and lonely. 13th question. What is the rhyme scheme of Where the Mind is Without Fear? AB, free verse, AABB, ABBA. Which of the following best describes the rhyme scheme in the cloud? Free verse with irregular stanzas, regular rhyme with a lyrical pattern, prose form, blank verse. 15th question. The cloud is written in which poetic form? Ballad, ode, sonnet, elegy. 16th question. Which literary device is used in the line where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way? Try to answer this question, please. Where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way. So what is there? What literary device is there in this line? Metaphor, simile, alliteration, irony. Please think of this and try to answer it. If you cannot answer it, I am here to help you. Okay. Please, you must try to answer on your own, because you know the poems, you know the summary, you know everything, and therefore you should only do that. If at all I myself give you the answers for all these questions, then it will be just like spoon feeding you. And here you see metaphor, simile, alliteration, irony. Now you move on to other questions. 17th question. In the cloud speaking as if it were a person is an example of hyperbole, onomatopoeia. How to pronounce this? I have told you about this several times in my previous videos. Onomatopoeia. It's a literary device. Okay. And onomatopoeia, you know very well about this. Personification, pun, you know very well about all these things. Right. What is there in this cloud? Okay. Here you go to the next one. How is where the mind is without fear structured? Look at the question. How is it structured? And here's 14-line sonnet, one long sentence in free verse, rhyming couplets, short stanzas with regular rhythm. 19th question. Shelley's use of vivid imagery in the cloud mainly serves to explain scientific facts, praise modern weather forecasting, celebrate nature's power and mystery, criticize pollution. 20th question. What is the poet's ultimate hope in where the mind is without fear? To live in a world of strict order, to become a leader of the world, to awaken the nation into a heaven of freedom, to rule over others with fear. 21st question. Which phrase from where the mind is without fear suggests the importance of reason over superstition? Reason is more important than superstition. Reason means logical thinking. Superstition means wrong belief, meaningless belief, baseless belief. ఆధారం లేనటువంటి ఒక నమ్మకాన్ని మూఢనమ్మకం. దట్స్ వై ఇట్ ఇస్ కాల్డ్ ఇన్ తెలుగు మూఢనమ్మకం, మీనింగ్లెస్ బిలీఫ్. దట్ ఈస్ దట్. అండ్ రీజన్ ఈజ్ మోర్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ దాన్ సూపర్స్టిషన్. సో నౌ యు నో దట్ వెరీ వెల్. ఇన్ వన్ ఆఫ్ ద లైన్స్ నౌ యూ కెన్ ఫైండ్ దిస్ పాయింట్. What is that line? Into that heaven of freedom, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way, where the tireless striving stretches its arms, where the mind is without fear. 22nd question. In the cloud, which poetic device is dominant in the lines, I bring fresh showers for the thirsting flowers? Okay. Which poetic device is there in this? Dominant in these lines? I bring fresh showers for the thirsting flowers. What are the options given here? Let us look at that. Metaphor. Is there metaphor in this? Please check. Assonance. You know about this assonance. Okay. Personification. Alliteration. Think of this. I bring fresh for flowers. So now then what is it called? Fa, fa, fa. I bring fresh showers for the thirsting flowers. Fa, fa, fa. So what is then it called? Okay, you know that very well. You can answer it. You go to the other questions. 23rd question. What aspect of nature is highlighted in the cloud through its recurring cycle of appearance and disappearance? Okay, the cloud appears and it disappears. When does it disappear? When it comes down to the earth in the form of rain. ఆ మేఘము వర్షంగా మారి భూమి మీద కురిసినప్పుడు ఆ మేఘం అక్కడ డిసపియర్ అవుతుంది. మళ్ళీ నీళ్ళన్నీ కూడా మళ్ళీ ఆవిరై మళ్ళీ మేఘం ఏర్పడుతుంది, మళ్ళీ కురుస్తుంది. సో ఇట్స్ అ సైకిల్. Okay, right. And here what are the options given here? Permanence, immortality, transformation and renewal, stillness. The last but one question. What does Tagore pray for in where the mind is without fear? What does he pray for? You know that very well. Material success and power. Is he praying for material success and power? A return to ancient traditions. Does he want all the people of this country to return to ancient traditions and customs and all that? An awakened nation led by truth and courage. Does he want the people to be led by truth and courage? Okay. Global conquest. What does he pray for in this poem? You know that very well, and you can choose the right one. Now let's move on to the last question. 25th question. In the cloud, the closing line, I change but I cannot die, suggest. What does it suggest? I change. నేను మారుతాను కానీ చావనవి అంటూ ఉంది ఈ యొక్క క్లౌడ్. మరి ఆ పవర్ఫుల్ క్లౌడ్ అలా అంటుంది కదా. What does it mean by that? What does it suggest? Okay, here options are given. The immortality of weather, the eternal and ever-changing spirit of nature, the strength of thunder, the destruction caused by nature. Okay, dear Students, with this, the small exercise will come to an end. Now, let's go to look at the answers for all these questions. These are all the answers for the questions from 1 to 10. These are all the answers for the questions from 11 to 20. These are all the answers for the questions from 21 to 25. With this, the small video will come to an end. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hello, dear DSC candidates. Thank you so much for watching this beautiful video. And if you have any problem in understanding any of the things, please make a mention of it in the comment section. And now I'm making all revision videos on poetry, prose, drama, novel, and short stories. On all these things, I'm making revision videos. And after that, I want to give you 3 model question papers. Okay. One day I'll give you the model question paper. The other day I will explain the questions for you. Okay. Every day one video I would like to upload. So with another beautiful video on poetry, I shall be back to you. Until then, bye. See you all of you.